You're listening to the Power 3 Gamercast. Hey guys, just figured I'd let y'all know. If you guys like my content dealing with my podcast, you guys can come watch me live at twitch.tv/Power3. I play video games most of the week, and if you guys are not interested in that but you want to get involved in the podcast, you guys can 100% check it out. I do my podcast every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alright, everybody, so how y'all doing, everybody? You guys enjoying yourselves? You guys having a lot of fun? Tonight's podcast episode. There is no sponsorship, so don't go asking. I don't know. I just want to get that out of bed. But no, I'm just kidding. No, tonight's podcast is kind of near and dear to me because, and don't mind the noise that my mic made there a second ago. But tonight's podcast is going to be about Destiny 2 and its current state. The state of Destiny 2. The reason why I say it's near and dear to my heart is not only was I just playing that a second ago, I'll be playing it after the podcast. It's that it's my game. I've been playing it since day one, Destiny 1. I've never got the opportunity to play beta. But we've been playing it for years, and it's my game that I constantly go back to regardless how you look at it. The Destiny franchise, it's hit me just right every time. It's not the perfect game. There is no such thing as the perfect game. Ever. If anybody asks, there is no such thing as the perfect game. But that does not mean that Destiny 2 is not my game. Do I believe that there's a lot of work that can be done on it? Oh, hell yeah, and that's why I'm talking about it on this podcast. But right now, in my opinion, Destiny 2 is in somewhat of the best place it's ever been. Now, before anybody asks, there is context. Because, well, as some people you've probably seen all over the Destiny community and all that, if you guys are part of it, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, how do you take it? Sorry about that. I'm just enjoying some coffee. Get it all done. And it's good stuff. I drink this stuff. It's really tasty. Hey, Coffee Brand, want to hit me up? Now's the time. I'm just kidding, everybody. But regardless, Destiny 2 does need a lot of work, but it's also not exactly what you'd call out of things to do. A lot of people will say it is a grind. Fact. That is a fact. Some people will complain about Trials being easy mode. Well, I'm not going to deny that that's a fact, because I was on PC at one point. Well, I technically am on PC, but I haven't played it in a couple weeks. No, a couple months, actually. But, regardless, we, as a community, in the Destiny community specifically, are currently thirsty, is the term I will use. Not because there's not enough content. There's lots of content to play. What we are lacking currently is something to chase. And I love Destiny. Don't get me wrong. I love the game franchise. But even as a casual Destiny player, I've noticed that there is a little bit of a lacking of pinnacle stuff. Especially this season, there's only one pinnacle weapon, and that's an Iron Banner. I don't have that weapon yet, but that's because I haven't been playing Iron Banner. I should, but I don't. I haven't. But our lack of pinnacle stuff to chase from drop rates, such as strike specific loot, and well, I can't say raid specific loot, but in a sense, raid specific loot as well. But only a slight amount, because the raids all do have their own unique loot and gear sets, and they're tasty looking gear sets. But right now, there is a lack of, how shall I put this, challenge. Lack of pinnacle stuff to come. Yeah, for a lot of people, too much of the same stuff. I'm okay with too much of the same stuff because I'm a guy who likes grinding. But not everybody has that kind of taste, and that's a given. That's cool. That is perfect, because it inspires new ideas to be brought up by the community. And if you're on all the Destiny communities and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, I've dabbled a little bit into BDO as well. Hold on, I gotta do something quick. I just gotta mute myself. But regardless, Destiny is currently in a slow state. It's not the first time it's been in one either, but it's not going to be the only time. The way you play it is, if you think about it, it's kind of like an MMO. So it's going to have its up downs and it's going to have its down times. It's not one of those games that you're really going to join. Well, sorry, let me correct myself. It's one of those games where there will always be dry spells and there will always be awesome times. And I'll let that one sit for a minute because I just gotta mute myself. Alright, I'm back. But it comes down to it's a little lackluster, and I will admit that. I'm a Destiny player. I will admit that. For me, it's more along the lines of not getting a group of people together and playing some video games together. But that's because I'm not really the most sociable. But when I do, I have loads of fun. And that's Destiny. Loads of fun for you to play, but never enough to warrant completing everything in a week and then just putting it down for a while. I'm just kidding. That part people do. Those are more the hardcore players. So the high-end raiders, Trials guys, because Trials is this season and it's going to be a permanent thing. And what we need for things like that is something to chase. Where the raids, there is something to chase. Which is, you got Last Wish with 1,000 voices. You got Anarchy in whatever the raid is called. I know it. I just haven't done it. And then you got Teraba. I didn't do that. Teraba, which is in Crown of Sorrow. And I guess you could say the trace rifle that you get from that quest line for that one mission. Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember the raid. I done it once, and I've been in it three times, not including my treasure chest run in the beginning. What's this? Either way, regardless, that raid the raid with the Vex. The most recent raid that came up with the Vex. Which, if anybody in the Destiny community hasn't done a raid yet, do the raids. They are fantastic. I will definitely say that. They are awesome works of art, essentially, because they work so very. They are mechanics based. I'm a guy who likes mechanics. I really need to get doing more raids and start doing raid carries and stuff like that for people who haven't done the raids. But I really need to do that. But either way, the raids, all of them, even the lairs, even though they're a little shorter than most raids, but they are the definition of pinnacle PvE. Another pinnacle PvE thing to do is dungeons. We need more dungeons. The amount of raids we got are perfect. I'm fine with the amount of raids we got. But we do need something to actually give us something to chase. Which means, in one sense, you could say a whole new area to explore. And that would be a great thing. Whole new area to explore, go through, public event. And I mean new. I'm not talking brought back. Although Venus would be a cool place to come back. I'd love to return back to Venus. But the places, what we need as well, and I have a feeling that's probably going to cut, and a lot of us in the community feel like when the new Destiny expansion comes out in a few months, in September or October, whichever one first, there's going to be a whole new area added. Same as there's also going to be a whole new raid. If you haven't seen those trails, those leaks, then, well, you're hearing about them now. But what we need is something to chase, something to grind for, and something to add more to the game than we already have. Something different instead of the Fractaline thing. Everybody says that what we have is a Fractaline thing, and in a sense I agree, in another sense I don't agree. That one I count it as, it's kind of a returning mechanic, but it is not Fractaline, is it? Because Fractaline is a little bit different. But it is not enough to be completely different that people can say, hey, this is whole new, fresh, and refreshed. I am hoping that the next season, which is coming out here in a month and a bit, comes out in June, is going to be something new to the season, this season. Because we need something new. We do need something new, and essentially doing a repetitive cycle does get a little boring. Something to spice things up would be immensely popular, especially in the Destiny community. Especially if it's got longevity. Such as Menagerie, in a sense. Menagerie has longevity because even to this day, there's things you can go get. One example is the sniper rifle Beloved, which is a bane for a lot of people, but it's really not too bad, in my eyes. I should go grind for one, just to kind of be a prick. But regardless, there is things you can go and get, but there isn't enough variation that people can actually say, I want to go get this, because it is ... I'll worry about that later. because right now it's, and a lot of games are like this, save for the most loot-filled MMOs. World of Warcraft, Black Desert Online, ESO. Large amounts of loot pools do seem to add more spice to a game, because it adds more variations to how you do things. Because right now, it's, one example is for Titans. As an example, you gotta have this exotic, or this build to be good. And that's how, based on you, but it is still a limited factor. Whereas the weaponry, say you're going into trials. You want to be sweaty, it's either hard light, some form of really good auto, beloved, last word, Erentil is still top dog for fusion rifles. They didn't nerf it enough in my opinion, but that's just between you and me. But Erentil is at least tolerable in this case, because I have no problems dealing with it. Or you still got the shotgun apes that run around. I'm a hunter if you didn't know. Right now, those are actually currently right now the Sweat Lord weaponry, pretty much. Beloved, Revoker, Recluse, you could say still. I can't really say much because I only have Recluse. Well, I do have the dragon of the Komodo, but that one's not. And then you've got, with hunters, it is currently right now, well, reality is that the Worm Husk is really the only thing for trials mostly. That's fine. Worm Husk is really not as bad as what One-Eyed Mask last year. And they took forever to nerf that one. But right now, Trials is literally just a sweat fest for the first 1 to 3 matches. Once you go past that, you're not dealing with too many of the sweat lords because everybody is going to 3 matches, bailing out, resetting their cards, and resetting the process. It's like, that's cheap. What we need for trials, as an example, and for a little while we'll stick with trials, we need pinnacle weapons, and you could say armor as well, but we'll specifically say pinnacle weapons, or weapons that get pinnacle perks. Something to to actually force these players to go 7-0. Because right now it's just a 1 to 3 sweat fest, and then there's a limited amount of people on the other ones outside that. We need a reason to go 7-0, so that entails that entails gear to chase. We need to return it to its former glory in a sense, but make it new enough that it's not gonna create problems. To do that, in reality, best way to do it. We'll use PC as an example because that's where a lot of cheating is right now. Now you could say anti-cheat, yada yada yada, which I agree with, but you can still go around anti-cheat. But that'll be the next subject here in a second. My opinion, in reality, I agree with King Gothalion and a few other large creators out there. a good way to reduce the cheater count on in trials comes down to one simple solution. It'll reduce the numbers by a massive margin. Put it as paid. You want to lower the amount of cheaters? Make trials not free to play. Forces them to say, oh shit, every time I get on, I have to spend money to join. And yes, there are probably still ways around it, but when people's money is involved, a lot of people seem to shy away from cheating. Not always, but sometimes, but a lot that will deal with a lot of cheating. Is if you make it a paid service to play trials. It's not to say that I don't want to see free to play players playing trials, because I thought that was a great idea for a time, but then I thought about it over time, and I thought most of the cheaters are using the free to play service for most of these cases. Most, not all, most. And usually it's foolish people who want to do so, and it's like, come on, guys. Doing this, you ruin the experience for other players, or you promote it for other players to say, hey, I could do that too. You ruin the experience. On console, it's a lot less rampant, but you still get disconnect or lag switch or packet loss. DDoS. And unfortunately, for things like that, the best solution to a DDoS, and it's not 100% perfect, is what? VPN. It's not perfect, but it is a solution. But today, in this day and age, with people who want to force themselves to go to guarantee a win, but what we need for sure, 100% fact, we need to have something to chase. Something to make us go, okay, I want to do this week. Because if I don't, I gotta wait. We need a grind. In my eyes, it's bring back variations of adept weapons. Or make some new ones, base them around certain models for trials, but call them bring back the adept weapon type, which, in my opinion, would vastly improve gameplay for trials. Be great way to bring the player base back for that, especially if you find a way to prevent cheaters from cheating, or at least reduce by a massive margin. Reduce the cheaters. And yeah, because trials is, regardless how you look at it, we're not going to be able to return back to trials is not going to return to its former glory, but we can bring it back to a point where it can actually be comparable, but it's not going to return back to where it was. I love that, because then I would actually take advantage of it. I would personally take advantage of it. Well, even now I'm planning on taking advantage of it. My hunter is at least 1,003. So at least I'm going to be able to do something. But the current state for trials right now is, until the rampant cheating is dealt with, there's going to be a lot of people walking away from it for a time. It's not going to remove everybody, but it will cause a lot of people to go, nope, 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 nope. Just kind of leave that off to the side for now. Now, how would you bring people to do more raids? Well, best way you can do it, in-game LFG. Plain and simple. The loot in all raids is still top notch for the most part. Still great loot, but it's getting people to play the raid, to do the raids. The majority of raids set up are through LFG groups outside of the space, and it's like, for a lot of people, not a lot of people want to actually join an LFG group. Idiot. Hold on a minute. So what happened? Sorry about that. Had a problem in the background. But regardless, one thing's for certain, as I was saying about raids, in-game LFG would be a massive boon. It's the one thing that really wouldn't be too hard to put into game. It's a lot of coding, yes, I'm not going to deny that. But it wouldn't be that hard to add an LFG in-game. Many MMOs have it, many regular games have it. Well, not really regular games. But an LFG group in the game would make life 1,000 times easier. 1,000. Have it set up like a little bounty board or something like that. An LFG, looking for group board. Make it look like it's actually part of the game, instead of just go over to a guy and be like, let's talk. But that could work too. The ability to look for a group for raids, trials, or whatever probably would add a lot of value to the game. And I am also aware that a lot of people have stated this point as well, because a lot of people do want an LFG group in game. The thing is, they don't have it yet. We would love it, but they don't have it yet. Maybe one day they will have an LFG. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm not going to make no guarantees. Now that the raid has been talked about and trials have been talked about, well, what about other activities? Well, the same effect. Add something unique to those that you can chase. Some Nightfall strikes have their own unique item. I.e., Warden's Law in the Prison of Elders 1. Then you've got the Braytech Osprey rocket launcher. And then you got a couple other weapons in there as well. But in my personal opinion, every strike needs to have a Nightfall specific drop. They do. Even if it doesn't look like, well, having something that looks completely unique from everything else would be cool. But it's not like that's a requirement. But it's make it specific to that strike. A specific perk on a weapon. Or a specific design with a perk, or a specific design. It would massively improve gameplay for strikes, especially Nightfalls, because then people will chase for loot, that perfect roll. Because we know that it have to be random roll. Can't have non-random rolled. And we gotta have... It's gotta be a little more unique. Hi, Luna! Than most of the other regular weapons. Now, what about out Gambit. Same effect. Because the pinnacle weapons that you can get from bounties, I like those ideas. We need more. Maybe instead of just one per season, make it 2 per season for each playlist. Better get that before the cat gets it. And of course it's MIA. I'll pick it up here in a minute. Whatever. Hey, go ahead, kitty cat. Go ahead. But regardless, Gambit does need something. People are leaving that on the back burner because it's Gambit, according to them. I'm a fan of Gambit and Gambit Prime. I love Gambit because it adds that unique element of PvE and PvP right in the middle, right cross between each other. Fantastic idea. Gambit needs something to chase other than what we've got. Because yes, Gambit and Gambit Prime are the only places you can get the Gambit and Gambit Prime weapons and armor. Well, specifically Gambit weapons from Trials, from Gambit stuff. Personally, what I want to see at some point is a new play mode for Gambit. And call it like Gambit Ultimatum or Gambit Perfected, or I like Ultimatum best. Reason why I say that is because Gambit needs something similar to Trials like Gambit mode. Get a group of 4, go in and challenge the toughest enemies anybody ever took on. Make it a raid level challenge, where your team has to work together, figure out a mechanic, a hard mechanic, not just a kill a bunch of guys and then go stand in a pool, shoot a guy in Prime. Make it a challenging make it challenging, where you have to make it a raid level mechanic and make it challenging. Then you can open up a playbook and be like, this boss will have this mechanic. This boss will have this mechanic. This boss will have this mechanic. And this boss will have this mechanic. And make all the enemies powerful level enemies. Make them raid level. And then you could say, then you can basically say this is like Trials for PvE, PvP. And then you can, those soft rolls, you can actually involve those soft rolls even more than in Prime or in Gambit. Adding those would make Gambit spicy. I would love to have a Gambit, Trials level Gambit match. Because it is on the back burner. And it would be nice to see Gambit come back and ready to rock. You can add maps. Okay, maybe you can. Or you can add some stuff to the new maps and make them just a little bit different. Then it'll make things a little more interesting. One example would be take the mechanic of the damage pool from Gambit Prime, but instead of moving it from where one location is to another, wherever those guys spawn, put it in the middle of the map and have the boss encircle around the entire map, making it a little more interesting because that would be pretty cool. Make it so that give the boss a massive health pool. As I said, add mechanics. Add some adept level weapons to this Gambit play mode, because that'd be dirty. Add unique Gambit. We'll use Gambit Ultimatum. Gambit Ultimatum loot, and armor that goes along with those soft rolls, turning them into hard rolls. Because those soft rolls, they deserve a lot of love. They deserve to be rolls in Gambit. Make it so that way your team is more powerful if all four of your members are a specific role. Have one dedicated to invading. One per. Right now it's just soft rolls, so it's literally just walk in, basically go in. If you are wearing the armor, okay, 90% of the time you just look over and say, "Oh, that guy's an invader." We'll let him do his thing. But most of the time, it doesn't happen that way. But adding Gambit Trials level Gambit playlist would be massive, in my opinion, because it'd be like, there's something different about this game mode. Why is it like a raid in a PvP PvE cross playlist? Make it so that way people actually enjoy have a challenge. Make it inviting, but at the same time make it a challenge where players cannot just rush through. Because I would love to see some boss level enemies that are capable of wrecking you at your most powerful. They can do that in Gambit Prime, but they're not as powerful. Okay, we covered Strike, Gambit, Pute. The Menagerie, add some more loot to the loot pool. Make it a little more interesting. There's nothing wrong with adding a little Menagerie stuff to the loot pool. Menagerie does need a lot of love, but it's not as bad. We need at least 3 more dungeons in my opinion. We need dungeons. We can't just go with the 2 dungeons we got. I want dungeons. We need something. It doesn't have to be a raid, just a nice dungeon you can run into and dungeon crawl. Or even if you do that, add a dungeon playlist. Make it a weekly dungeon playlist. 1 dungeon for a week with a bunch of modifiers. Add and create something different to challenge the player base. As for open world stuff like patrols, stuff like that, well, you can add something to chase, but what would you entail? Maybe a weapon for a planet or something like that, but really that's not something you'd really want to chase. Oh, that guy's got a planetary weapon. Unless it actually has rolls, which it probably will. But you can add more loot to it, but it's not as direly important. But adding all those seasonal things that were gone back in the seasonal throughout the seasons for the open world, bring them back. Keep them permanent. At least then you have options to go through. You could be like, all right, I want to chase some Vex on the moon. Go chase some Vex on the moon. Or if you want to do what we did last season, sure, without the Fractaline. No Fractaline, because that'd be a foolish move. And same with this season's thing. Bring back the Sundial. Have this here for shenanigans, just for giggles. I do get why they keep it as seasonal, but maybe for maybe the next season, near the end, or when the next expansion drops, add this stuff to the loot. Bring these things back just so that way it's a lot more open to the world for everybody to play. But it comes down to, could that bring the player base back? Could all that bring the player base back? It's possible. It's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility. Which, we're not, regardless how you look at it, the game is fucking fantastic even today. But, there's a but. It will never ever return to its former glory back in Destiny 1. Because Destiny 1, it was fresh, it was new, it was exciting. The only way Destiny will return to its former its glory like that is if you find a way to make the game completely fresh. And unfortunately, that is going to be impossible because the Destiny title is not fresh anymore. That's the reason why there's a 2. My eyes, they should, in my personal opinion, we shouldn't have gotten Destiny 2. It should have been a World of Warcraft effect. Where it just carries on and on and on. It would have been a fucking fantastic move. Because then, it's one game. With a bunch of upgrades. Keeps everything into the game. Keeps all the planets from the old game. All locations from the old game. No new locations. All the old stuff. But what are you going to do, unfortunately? Unfortunately, we're at this stage and we'll suck it up, princesses. But adding things to Chase that actually have meaning would probably bring a lot of people back. Adding something new and exciting would bring a lot of people back. Not just a reamped version. This is my controller wrap that I had on my controller there a minute ago. We need things to chase, we need things to get, and we need a lot more stuff. It comes down to we're not as bad as Taken King year, where we had basically a whole year of Taken King stuff and nothing else, except for halfway through. We should have had more that year, but at the same time, that's okay. We made it. We're on to new stuff. The season, what we need now is a way to combat cheaters, bring back the community with something consistent to play. As for the people who are saying that Destiny's dead, it's not. Destiny is not dead. Just because some of the bigger creators, or a majority of the bigger creators, are focusing on something else, does not mean the game is dead. Look at the player base, not the streamer base. Player base is at an all-time steady level. It's a steady level. It'll rise during seasonal ups, and then it'll stay there for a bit, and then it'll slowly drop back down to its normal. When next title expansion drops, which will what the leak says, we're going to be dealing with darkness. There's going to be a lot of players playing that game, as they proved back when Shadowkeep dropped. I have a feeling that when that happens, it's going to probably be there's going to be as many players and as many streamers, and it will overtake any of the top games for a little while. But it'll steady out and lower down. It happens every time. It's not dead because people are still playing it, people are still talking about it. The game is nowhere near dead. Anybody who says the game is dead, tell them otherwise, because it's there. It's still active, it's still talked about, and it is still there for people to play. It is not. It's not like one day they say, okay, we're done, we're shutting off the service permanently. The day that happens, then it's dead. It'll never be dead until then. And we got a long way to go before that even hits that point. Once it hits that point, then we could say it's dead. We said the same thing. In reality, we said the same thing about Division 1. Anthem. Anthem was a terrible launch. I saw the numbers. Everybody joined, and all of a sudden, a week later, the majority of players were gone. And now they're working on fixing that. Division 1 was fixed. And I say was because we're all in Division 2. And Division 1 became a fantastic game to play. Division 2 was almost the same way. But it was still a better game. It was still an improved game, and it still played well. With Warlords of New York, there's still some fixes to be done, even to this day. But it is still a highly playable game. Very well done game. Great game for solo players. Even better if you have teammates. Then you got No Man's Sky, which when it first dropped, I loved it. It was terrible, but I loved it. Over the years, they've improved stuff, and they brought it back to a perfect level right now that it's just nice and comfortable. Is it 100%? Is there things that it could be added? Oh, hell yeah. Every game does. But No Man's Sky has redeemed themselves. We're going to see what they do with Anthem, but don't hold all. We're going to see what happens with Anthem. If it brings back just enough that it brings it to a competitive level with Destiny, that's what I think is going to happen. 2020, I'm predicting right now, Anthem gets competitive with Destiny if it's good. If not, oh well. But my point is, unless the game's actually shut down and there's no updates, nothing coming to the games, Destiny is the biggest situation in this rule right now because it is at that point. It's at its classic lower point during the season. A game will never die until people stop talking about it, stop playing it, and if it's an online game, once the servers shut down permanently. There's the three ways that games die. Games that are... Some games, for example, say it's an online game and the server shuts down. If it's still talked about, well, we can't say the player base because player base is gone. When the servers shut down, player base is gone. But if people still talk about it, even after, it's not a dead game. It's just, you can no longer play it. But regardless, you can never... This is to the community that's salty about the game. Well, specifically salty in the sense of, oh, the game is dead. It's not dead. The player base is still at a good level. People still play the game. It's still open servers. People still talk about it. It's not dead. For those who are constructively criticizing the game and saying this is what I feel would be needed to bring me back specifically, and I'm saying that quotation, there are people who do that. They're just waiting for that content that they want to have added to the game. You have that opinion. You're 100% allowed to have that opinion. And I agree with you. If you feel like it's not at the point if you feel like the game is not at the point where you want it to be at that moment, by all means, do what you feel, man or girl, regardless how you look at it. If you want to return at some point, you're welcome back at any time. But we're not going to force you to come back because, oh God, we want you back. If you don't want to play the game, that's fine. Don't join the game is dead or the game is trash. It's at a slump moment in the season. It's not perfect. It's on that natural curve of the season. Happens every season since Destiny 2 started doing seasonal content, or the DLCs back in Destiny 1 in the first year of Destiny 2. There will always be a content slump. As long as we don't return to the Taken King era content drought. But once we get there, but it will always be growing. It's a community game. There will always be people there. Yeah. In reality, there's not that many people. It's more of the best way to grow on Destiny, and I'm trying to break my solo bubble. Best way to grow is if you have people to play with. Putting your name out there, letting people know, hey, I do this, but not in a dickish sort of way. Just say, hey, I play this game. Yada yada yada. But to play Destiny nowadays, it's harder for solo players. You can do it, but it's a lot harder. It's better to have other players part of your connection. And to do that, you play with them. I enjoy my time playing with people. I really need to play with people, video game wise. The game is best streamed when you're making entertaining moments. It's not to say that the game is bad, but if you're and I'm learning this the hard way, if you're solo, it is harder to stream the game. I would attest to that point, and you are 100% alright, correct on that. The reality is, if you want to and this is going to come down to, there is a lot of people. I will agree with that. Still, it is worth the challenge. Because it's not like Fortnite or Call of Duty. It is not as unique in the playstyle anymore. But it is still unique enough right now that it is at a point where you can say, hey, I'll just get a bunch of people together and play some video games. Because Destiny still has that uniqueness about it that a lot of games can't seem to grasp. It's harder to find. It's harder to notice, but it is there. Specifically, it's a tiny uniqueness right now about it that it's difficult to say because everybody's opinion is different about it. My opinion is its uniqueness, it comes from its playability. How good the game feels even on console. It has a feel about it that just makes the game a lot more playable, in my opinion. Because I could go away for a week and I will always be back. I don't know why, I just do. Whereas some other games, I can come back after a couple of months and it'll feel the same, but it's not Destiny. And I've played it on PC and console. It's fantastic on PC if you're not streaming. Let me correct myself. It's a fantastic game to play even when you're streaming it on PC, but there is limitations. Essentially, if you're going to be streaming it, I would recommend getting a high-powered computer or two computer setup for streaming it, because it's just a little bit of a pain. Or have a really good internet. But either way, regardless, that is the podcast. Thank you all once again, everybody, for coming over and checking me out. Had a lot of Destiny talk there, and it was a lot of fun doing so. But thank you for the podcast. Either way, I will be taking a bit of a break. But I'll see you guys on next week's podcast. I'm still debating on what the subject is. You just heard the Powder 3 Gamercast. Check me out at twitch.tv/Powder3.